Hello and welcome to Akashic TV. I am Lisa Barnett, and I am the author of The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records, as well as From Questioning to Knowing, with 73 healing prayers to transform your life. They're both available on Amazon by Lisa Barnett. This book has a foreword by Jack Canfield, who is just a lovely gentleman who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. So the reason I am showing you this book today is that we are going to talk a little bit about some of the healing prayers that are in here and do some of that work as it comes around to our past life gifts and talents. So last time we were talking about our soul's plan, which includes soul contracts. This video is also about your soul plan, but it is more about what you came to Earth to bring out to humanity. So what gifts and talents did you want to share? Or sometimes we look at it, what is my soul purpose? And I think that soul purpose is a fascinating question, and I think it creates a really big challenge for people in their lives. Because the way the Akashic Record explains a soul purpose to us is they say, well, it's actually connected to your soul's lineage. Now, I don't believe that soul's lineage is a common phrase, and so my guess would be that many of you have no idea what that might be. and I remember when the Akashic Record Keepers first started talking to me about soul lineage, I thought, what is that? What does that mean? And this is the way they explain soul lineage. So in a big picture sort of view, most of us who are kind of at this point spiritually. So I would say, if you're watching this video, if you've been on a spiritual path, even if you just woke up a month or two ago, or 3 or 4 years ago, or if you've been awake most of your life, it doesn't matter. But the fact that you're on a spiritual path at this time in history tends to mean that part of your soul's plan, part of your soul purpose, is to bring this higher light back to humanity and to try and assist humanity to wake up, to bring more light, more love, more compassion to the world, so that people can see and feel that and understand that that is the true path, is love really is the answer in so many different ways. And so when we talk about soul lineage, what that means is that it is the lives that connect one to another with a similar soul purpose. Okay? So this is the way the record keepers explained it to me many years ago, is they said, if you imagine that every life you had as a healer, so I'll just use healer as an example, if you imagine that every life where you were on purpose was, say, a pearl, or I just noticed I have this necklace on, which has, different pieces. So they kind of are really nice at representing multiple lifetimes. So if each one of these squares was a lifetime in which I was a healer living on purpose and on task, and that would mean that I actually got out there in the world and I was doing my healing work, where I wasn't too afraid to share it, where I was the village healer, where I was a sage or a wise woman or a wise man. Maybe I was a monk or a nun, and I was sharing my healing gifts with the community in some way or other. So each one of those lifetimes in which I really, actuated my purpose gave me one of these little beads. So this necklace, in the end, would be my necklace of the healer soul lineage. All of those lifetimes would be strung together, all of the lifetimes in which I was an actuated healer. would give me, say, this necklace. And so when I came to Earth this time, I would bring this necklace with me, this necklace of being the healer, as well as maybe I bring another soul lineage necklace for me of the author. I've written 2 books now, and I'm working on 2 more. I have 2 more even kind of back in storage that I think I'll work with and possibly bring out one day, but it's not quite time yet. But when I started to write, what I did was I went back through all the lifetimes that I could find in my Akashic record in which I was a published author, in which I wrote with ease, in which I felt that I could really bring my information out to the world by writing it down in a book, or whether it was a poem or poetry or a play or a novel or some other, form of writing. It doesn't have to be just a book, right? It could be, maybe I was writing even music or songs, but bringing the gift of the author, of the writer, of the communicator who is communicating maybe through the written word in some way, or the sung word or the spoken word, right? So that would be part of my soul lineage as an author. And so when we come to Earth, our sole purpose is not like a job description. I'm coming to work in this kind of company doing this sort of work. It is much more expansive. And I would even say that they are often more of an archetype. So the healer, the wise man, the sage, the artist, the teacher, the mystic, the queen or the king, or the priest, or the wise woman. So they tend to have a greater energy to them than a job description does, right? Because nobody really comes to work in, in HR at XYZ company. We don't think that way when we're a soul coming to Earth, right? We're thinking, I want to bring my gifts of compassion and wisdom and communication. And maybe I end up choosing to work in human resources because that kind of job utilizes the gifts and talents I have that I came to bring to Earth. So hopefully that kind of makes a little bit of sense, or helps you to look at soul purpose in a different way. Often I have clients who come to me and say, what is my soul purpose? And what the record keepers often say is, it is not one thing, because if it was one thing, you would be bored silly. Let me just say, right? So most of us have numerous soul purposes. So using myself as an example, which is probably the easiest way to go, is I have a soul purpose as a healer. I have a soul purpose as a teacher. I also have been an Akashic record keeper way back in the beginning of time. And so part of my soul purpose happens to be to help to bring the Akashic record energy back to humanity. This was a request that was given to me by the record keepers many, many years ago. I'm also the mother of 4. And so I would say that part of my soul purpose is to be a mother, right? And to also bring that kind of divine mother energy, compassion and wisdom, not only to my children, but out to the world. So the scribe, the sage, the author, all of those sorts of purposes, but they're really much more related to an archetype if you think about it that way. So let me talk a little bit about how these soul gifts and talents work. So again, back when you're writing your soul plan, you know, you've sat down and you said, just like I'm going to write a business plan. If any of you are business people and have ever written out a business plan, you say, this is what my business is about. You know, this is my mission statement, my vision statement. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to create, right? This is what I want to share. This is how I'm going to do it. And your soul plan is very, very similar. So we write soul contracts to share these experiences with other people. Some of them are about support, and some of them are about learning and growth. Some of them are about completing karmic patterns, and some of them are about also sharing, like having a business partner to help us to bring our gift or talent out into the world by creating a business. So of course, they're all very interwoven. We would be kind of weird if we weren't really intertwined with people and humanity and path and plan and purpose and contracts, as well as karma and our learning, our growth. So all of that is written in your soul plan, and it's all very intertwined in numerous different ways. But right now I want to just focus on our gifts and talents. And so if you imagine that you came with your soul purpose necklace, your soul lineage necklace of the healer and the author, then you come to earth and things start to show up in your life because your soul has a plan. And even if you're asleep, right? Even if you don't remember any of this as you're kind of going through your childhood and maybe even your college years, but you may get interesting inklings. I would say that back in high school, I wrote a story. And my teacher loved it, and she submitted it to whatever little school paper thing. And I won something, and I thought, wow, that's great. Maybe I'll become a journalist. And I actually went to college with the idea that I was a journalism major. And so there was some inkling in me, not conscious at all, but because of the way the universe was stepping up to support me, I got the idea that I was here to write. Now, at that age, I didn't follow through. I decided I picked the wrong school for journalism. I took a year off of college. I went back to school, and I actually went to an art school and studied architectural photography. I knew that I was a creative on one level. So of course, all of us have creative energy, but many of us are the artisan, which is much more about making something like art, writing, painting, singing, music. Could be, you know, creating any number of things. It doesn't have to be the painting sort of artistic idea. But the artisan is really here to share their gifts very much through art. And being an author, being a communicator is often part of that. So there I was now creating, using a camera as a photographer to kind of share my view, right? My worldview. I was using my lens to show what I saw in the world. And it took years, again, before I came back around, of course, to do this sort of work. I spent 15 years in advertising, again, all about communication. And so the truth is that if we look sometimes at that bigger overview of who we are, a lot of my overview would be the communicator. So I came to write, I came to speak, I came to teach, I came to talk, right? So to share information. And so no matter how I choose to share information, you know, it's not one little bitty job description. I could do it through photography. I can do it through writing different types of books or poetry. I can, of course, do it through making videos or speaking on a stage or teaching an online workshop or teaching in person. It doesn't matter, because I'm living up to my soul purpose as a communicator. So when we have that sort of gift or talent, it's often about communicating truth with a capital T, some sort of truth. So my truth is about the Akashic Records, and that is because I was an Akashic record keeper. Now, I'm certainly not the only one of us on the planet. There are quite a few of us, and yet it's still, I would say, maybe in the hundreds, not in the millions yet, or at this point. It's an interesting choice as a soul, but I came here to Earth at this point because the record keeper said it's time to bring this energy, information, and wisdom back to humanity. Now, the interesting part of the story is that back in the Dark Ages, around 1000 AD, the record keepers actually pulled the vibration of the Akashic Records so far off of the planet that very few people could access this information and wisdom any longer. People were misusing the wisdom, the information that they could get by accessing the Akashic Records. They were using it for their own gain, for their own good, to win their wars, to find other people's riches. Really, in some ways, you would say to manipulate life for their advantage. And so the record keeper said, this is not in the highest good for humanity. And so we will pull this energy away so that the only people who can still access the information of the Akashic Records in those times, in the last literally 1,000 years, from 1,000 to really almost 2,000, were the mystics, were the monks, were the spiritual leaders and seers that were still on the planet. And so the Akashic Records were never forgotten about, but they became very obscure. People really forgot about them. So as we started to teach about the Akashic Records many years ago, for so long, people's eyes would kind of glaze over and they'd say, Akashic, what are you talking about? Whereas now it's fascinating, just 20 years later, everybody, well, at least in spiritual circles, have heard about the Akashic Records. So many of you, I also see, finding this as a passion and a purpose. And it is one of the great gifts as a healer. If you came with the healer necklace, maybe you want to learn to do Akashic Record healing for other people, for your clients. And so as we find in our records what our soul's lineage is, what necklaces we brought back to the planet, many of us are more galactic. I would say we are the star seeds. We are the souls who have lived in many other planets, planes, and dimensions. And we have come to share some of our gifts and memories of other inventions from other worlds. So if that speaks to you, the inventor, the starseed, the galactic soul who remembers something bigger and greater, many of you are coming with more technical information to help humanity. I'm actually seeing many of the children being born today have this energy, or their soul lineage is the inventor. And they may have been an inventor on Earth, and they've definitely been inventors in other kinds of realms and dimensions. So pre this time on the planet, pre-humanity in this go round, right? So you may be a starseed inventor who came to bring some new technical advances back to humanity. I think we're going to really start to see that breaking through on the planet tremendously in the next 10 years, and of course onwards. So if your soul purpose is to bring new inventions to the world, you can kind of know this is a really huge calling. And hopefully you have one of these necklaces of the communicator or the teacher, that you can share your gifts, that you have the speaker ability to bring some of this communication out to the world. Because often we try to do these sorts of things as wise souls, but humanity hasn't been ready for us. And so it's also very useful to go back into our Akashic records to look for different lifetimes in which we were inventors. And you might have been an inventor back in the 1600s or 1300s or 800, or maybe back in ancient Egypt, or back in ancient Rome, or even further back. Maybe it was a different time in history altogether, where we were inventors, maybe even way, way, way back, where we were bringing inventions and information and technology literally from the stars. So not only have we come here to this planet and embodied as humans, I also get in the Akashic records that we have come via spaceship or other transport to come and to help humanity, to bring different gifts to humanity in different times and ages. And so you can go back in your Akashic record and start to understand more about who you have been throughout time in other past lives, and how you have helped to bring new inventions to the world, or how you have helped to share and been a healer or a teacher or a wise one. Maybe you were part of the ancient mystery schools, teaching the great alchemy of the world back to people, back way, way, way back, thousands and thousands of years ago, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years ago, or 5,000 BC, even longer, 7,000 years ago. Maybe you were part of some of these great ancient mystery schools. Maybe you were part of Lemuria or Atlantis, and you had great wisdom. We can reclaim some of this when we access the Akashic records. This is one of the things that I do with my clients and my students, is I teach them, or do for them, depending if they're a student or a client. We'll go back through time to many different lifetimes where we were the inventor, where we were bringing new information and energy to the planet, or maybe we were remembering it like a Galileo, just understanding something, waking up from a dream like Einstein, and just knowing phenomenal information, and then going through the process of figuring it out and proving it and creating something that is that dream in physical form. So we literally can go back into our Akashic records and say, help me to reclaim these past lives in which I was an inventor. Just in the same way that I did that with the author. Help me to remember all the lifetimes in which I wrote with ease, in which I was a published author, in which I could bring these gifts out to humanity. So being able to reclaim our past life talents and gifts is a phenomenal tool that's available to you in your Akashic records. And another thing that we do is I do something which I call Akashic soul retrieval. Because what happens to us in some lives is maybe you were an inventor and you were killed for your invention. Now what happens is there is so much pain and trauma. There's the physical pain, there's the emotional pain, there's all the trauma of maybe being imprisoned, being tortured, being killed, that you make a vow and you say, I am never going to do that again. I will never be seen, and I will never share my gifts in that way again. And these past life vows can block us from moving forward because it's such a trauma. It was, I mean, just imagine being in prison, being tortured, being killed, being burned at the stake, whether your head is chopped off or you're hung, no matter what it is, it's traumatic, right? So here you are on your deathbed saying, never, 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 I vow, I vow, I vow. And so I always say, please try to be conscious of the vows you make in this life. Even nice vows like, I'll love you forever. But forever is a long time. This is one of the interesting things that they've written into the marriage vows. Things like, until death do us part. It's kind of a smart ending to a vow. I will love you until death do us part. So let me read one of the healing prayers from my book, From Questioning to Knowing, with 73 Prayers to Transform Your Life. This is the prayer to release past life vows. Because I know that many of you have made vows throughout time to never do that again. Whether it was bring an invention through or share your healing gifts, right? The Inquisition went on for 500 years and thousands, if not over 1 million people were killed for being witches and healers during the Inquisition. So let's do the prayer to release past life vows. One of the 73 prayers that the Akashic Record masters and teachers have given us. So just take a nice breath and sit back and close your eyes if you can. Just take this prayer in as if you were reading it yourself. And we ask the Akashic beings of light to surround us with their light and their love as we receive this healing today. Mother, Father, Goddess, God, I align to the present in this very moment. I have experienced blocked energy in my life and my body. I now know that this is not who I am. I go into the past, into lifetimes, holding vows of poverty, vows of fear, vows of hiding. And I now release those vows to the divine energy of Source. I am grateful for all the gift those lifetimes have given me. I now claim all my highest good, wisdom, and truth that I can now hold. I walk forward clearly, freed and cleared of past life energy, fear, blocks, and vows. As I embrace my abundant life, I am abundance now. I am divine love now. I remember my gifts, my talents, my joy, and I freely bring it forward and share it with humanity now. And so it is. Blessed be. So it's a lovely prayer to start to shake free some of those vows that we made. When I work with people in their Akashic Records, when I work with my clients, or when I teach you in my workshops, I will actually teach you how to move outside of time and space into these past lives so we can untangle and delete the past life pain and trauma so that we can literally reclaim this soul gift and bring it into this present life and this body now. And this is the process I call Akashic soul retrieval. what happens is we have splinters of our souls that get split off and locked off because of this emotional pain and trauma that we've experienced in gory types of death, right? In different sorts of vows, all sorts of different times in our life where we have splintered because of this emotional pain, physical pain, and trauma. And so with the Akashic Soul Retrieval, we can easily go back, release the pain and trauma that's keeping it separated, and reclaim it, merge it right down into your soul and your body now. So we can go through and reclaim all these splintered parts, all these splintered gifts and talents that you really came to share with humanity now. So I look forward to sharing more with you soon. You can get this book with the 73 prayers to transform your life. It's called From Questioning to Knowing by Lisa Barnett. You can find it on Amazon. You'll also find it on my website with some free gifts if you're interested in reading more about the book and downloading some free gifts. You'll get that at AkashicKnowing.com. And I will talk more about Akashic Soul Retrieval. Next time we'll talk more about karma and life lessons and why we might write that in our soul's plan. So I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.